Artists, how are you today? It's Stephanie Aune, once again here from the banks of the Trinity River. Ozzy and I welcome you to the studio. Thanks for checking us out today. All right, what we have is this is a 4-page layout. So I have 7 pages in between each signature. So I'm going from center signature to center signature to be my main working pages. What that means here, though, basically is that I've got 4 pages glued together on the first page, 3 pages glued together on the second page, 3 pages glued together on the third page, and the last page has 4 pages glued together. I want really nice, strong, sturdy pages. You can use 3 or 4 pages, whatever makes you happy. Here I was having already the beginning of a book issue with the binding. Those of you that follow me know that I absolutely put fabric in the center of every single seam that is going to be, that's going to have artwork on it. And the reason for that is I was tired of having my altered books fall apart. And if you just take a thin piece of fabric, a cotton, that's sari silk that I put into that one. I would not suggest using a polyester or any type of stretchy fabric, but a thin piece of fabric, just do it right off the bat and then do your artwork over the top, and that will save your book from falling apart. It's very important. This is a piece of packaging that I've got either out like Amazon or Chewy, or it's a thinner weight brown paper. Now you can use a brown paper bag if you like, but I find them to be too thick. So I just glued it down and crumpled that up. Now what I'm working on is a gesso transfer. So I've already done the left-hand side there, and I'm going to show you how I did it right now here on the right-hand side. I put down a generous layer, but it's not too thick, but it's definitely not too thin. You want to be able to just kind of push that image that you want to transfer. You can push it down into the gesso. Just like that. You want to make sure all the air bubbles are out. And on this one, I decided I had gotten too much gesso on the rest of the page because I wanted that brown paper bag to show through a little bit more. So the mistake that I'm making right here is I am getting gesso on the back of the copy paper. Now you're always going to get a little bit. It's kind of inevitable that you're going to get some gesso on the back of that of your image. But if you can avoid that as much as possible, it'll really help you when you're in the process of removing the paper. I use an inkjet printer on standard copy paper, and any gesso will work for this. So you can see the transparency of the image over there on the left hand side. She has become transparent because it's the paper has absorbed the liquid from the gesso, and that's really the effect that we want to have. And then you let that dry overnight. I cannot stress the importance of letting it dry for at least 3 hours. If you do not let it dry long enough, or if there's air pockets, or if you scrub too hard, like this right there. Watch, wait for it. Oh, there it is. Scrubbed too hard. So don't take your paper towel to help you scrub it. You do have to take your time with this. It's not a super fast process. It doesn't take forever. It's actually pretty fun and exciting, but generally that paper comes off in about 3 layers. Don't try to rush it and go down to the ink right off the bat. You can see there I've got a lot of rolled up paper underneath my hand there from this process. Just take your time. There's no rush. Just sit and watch a show as you're doing it. You can really feel the texture. So you will know when when all the paper is gone, because it has a much smoother texture with the ink that has absorbed into the gesso. So just take your time with it. And, you know, I didn't mind that I had done that to her face. As you can see there, I think I must have colored it somewhat to where it just kind of blended in. But it really does add to the vintage feel. And I was wanting really going for the hand-painted vintage photograph feel with this. Now you can see over there on the ravens where there's kind of that gray tone in the wings. That's where the gesso on the back of the copy paper, that's what happened. So try not to do that. It's definitely helpful if you can kind of push down the image into the gesso and then just let it be. Get out all the air bubbles that you can, kind of push them out with a clean paintbrush on the back. And yeah, so now I'm taking my Arteza real brush pens. And we are painting our woman. So she is, the reason why this is called Ancestors is I am German Bohemian on my mother's side, and I am German and Norwegian on my father's side. And I found this image on the internet. It is a vintage photograph. There should not be any copyright issues with that. Any photograph taken after or taken before 1927, I believe, should be basically copyright free. I am also changing the image substantially. I have no plans on mass producing this. So yeah, we always kind of want to be respectful of using images from artists that are recent. We just kind of want to be cognizant of that and respectful. That's why you see me use a lot of vintage imagery in my books. So here's just kind of a gray pen, and what I'm doing is I'm going over the shadows, enriching the shadows a little bit. I try to kind of go in layers. I generally start with the highlights first and then work into the shadows when I'm doing something along this line, because you know, you have to, when using a water-soluble product like this, if you put dark down and then you try to put light over the top of it, you're not going to be able to see it. So you kind of have to start with your highest highlights first and then work from there, work into your darks. Landscapes with acrylic paint, I actually kind of work from the darks to the highlights. So it just kind of depends on what medium you're using and what process you're doing. So this was a Patreon project that I did in November of 2019 in the Secret Garden Simple Exposure Altered book. This was, again, like I said, a Patreon project. I am doing the voiceover today. Here it is November 4th of 2020. So I have edited the video from what I originally posted on Patreon, made it a little bit shorter, so hopefully you guys can tune in for the whole thing. And even if you kind of tune out, if you could just leave it running in the background, that'd be awesome. YouTube algorithms really like that. And currently, guys, there are about 50% of you that are watching my videos that are not subscribed. So if you could hit that subscribe button, that would really be awesome. I would really appreciate it. Like buttons, comments, all those things will help out the algorithms, and I would truly appreciate your support that way. If you do need any art supplies, it'd be great if you would use the links that are down in the comments. I do try to keep that list relatively current. I am using the Arteza real brush pens. I wanted to kind of go with kind of a coppery golden color on her jewelry. So I'm starting with kind of the pinkish undertones, and those will get built up over time as I go along. And, you know, this process takes a little bit of time, but it's so very worth it. And it's not difficult. It just touches of color here and there. Touch of color. And then I bring in, that's a Arteza I think that's the water brush. The watercolor pens are the real brush pens, and you can use, of course, whatever supplies you have. And then that is a water brush. So it has a water reservoir in it. It is a super, super handy tool to have, especially when working like this, where it just blends the paint, the pigment from the watercolor pen really nicely. So now I'm going in with the darks. And here I'm kind of taking my time and really defining, here I'm defining her hair, but I'm defining the shadows. Really wanting to put the sharp lines onto the piece of art. Really fun to hand tint these. And again, I really wanted that really cool vintage feel. And I think, I succeeded in what my goal was for the project. As you guys know, I have a very close affiliation with ravens, and also with the wolf, the house wolf, which you will see on the second part of this project that will be in our next video. It was really a rewarding layout to make. Now I'm just building up the shadows a little bit more. So when you go through, you build up the highlights. So anything that you want to come forward, we're always still working on perspective, even when it's, just a single person. We're working on creating depth. We're making sure that what we want to come forward in that image comes forward by putting the warmest tones. Warm tones are going to come forward, cooler tones are going to recede. And yeah. All right, guys. I hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.